I understand what you're trying to do, but you will not pigeonhole me. I'm an objective journalist, damn it. So we got plenty of time to get to all things Preds over the course of this morning. A tough loss last night. Really, I mean, a tough third period. Everything went to hell. But we will spend plenty of time on that because I want to rip Matt Duchene and I want to rip Preds Twitter because those people, and I do mean those people, insufferable last night in response to my trolling of them. But like I said, we will take that time as needed. But I want to start this show, Lucas, because I told you right before you had to run to the microphone for your update that I needed applause, not me personally, but like I needed the sound of applause during this first segment because we, every morning, to let you guys behind the scenes, to let you guys into the green room with us before we walk into the studios right after J. Martin Ramon conclude their, what do they call it, the fastest 4 hours in radio as it's sold. We sit in the green room, we have a pre-show meeting, and oftentimes our green room directly across from the Titans radio studio. And in the Titans radio studio is a man amongst men.
A king amongst men.
A king, an artist, the Leonardo. I almost said Leonardo DiCaprio, Leonardo da Vinci of audio. Rhett Bryan, okay? You hear him all over the shows. You hear him as a big part of this show because he is an incredibly creative human being. But this morning, Lucas, he blew us both away, and I need a round of applause, a standing ovation, in fact. I don't know if I'll stand up and rip my headphones out of the thing if I try to stand up at the console, but a standing ovation for Rhett Bryan this morning because he deserves it. Give this man his flowers. Yes, Rhett Bryan, and he's getting a standing ovation. You see Lucas applauding on 104.5 The Zone TV. This man deserves his flowers, and you will not hear it until the very end of the show why he deserves his flowers. But he has put in a new rotation of voices for us to start the poll questions with. So I just wanted to take a second. I wanted to salute this man, and I wanted to say thank you, Rhett Bryan, for making us sound good at our jobs.
That is called a tease.
Yeah, tune back in 3 hours. I'm a professional. Anyway, all right, now let's rip the Preds. Do you want to defend them at all before I get after them? Because I was not waiting for the moment when they blew it. But certainly during the course of that third period, as things were starting to get out of hand, and it looked like a JV team against an NHL team on the ice in Carolina, I was waiting for the moment for my opportunity to troll all of Preds Twitter. Do you have anything to say in their defense before I get after them?
No,
today?
Look, the Carolina Hurricanes are a much better hockey team than the Nashville Predators. We knew this. The Predators did not do the things they needed to do to offset those deficiencies enough the other night. They were outclassed in the third period. It looked like one of those mid-season matchups where they looked like they didn't belong on the same ice.
Without question, which is why I think you and I teased you a little bit, calling you a homer yesterday. And by the way, if you want to jump in on the show, 615-737-1045, 615-737-1045, your reaction to the Nashville Predators. Who do you blame? Do you want to blame John Hines for not having Eeli Tolvanen in the lineup? Do you want to blame Matt Duchene for consistently, or Ryan Johansson at this point, for consistently underperforming? Because those two stand out the most, I think, in terms of people who you're going to look at and you're going to say, hey, we need you to step up, not just because of what you're being paid, which I found out for the first time last night doing my research before we prepared to spend 2 hours on hockey today. I went and looked at the SPO track for the NHL for the first time, and I can't wait to talk about this Matt Duchene. Oh, dear God. But give us a call if you want to react to the Nashville Predators, if you feel any differently about this series than you did yesterday before things got underway. Of course, they will play again tomorrow in Carolina before coming to Smashville, before coming back to Nashville and having a little bit of home ice advantage, one would think. 615-737-1045. But before we get into, like, the hockey itself, Preds Twitter was pissed at me yesterday for a little trolling. I had to do it we've been leaning into what are you making a face like you smelled something bad? Everything okay back there?
Bad phone signal.
Okay. 615-737-1045. So we've been leaning into, or at least I've been leaning into, I don't like the vibe thing. Like, we know this at this point. It's an established theme on this show. Maybe I'm a grouchy old man. Maybe this is the first time that I can see myself aging because I'm shaking a fist at the sky saying, get the hell out of here with this Preds Twitter account and all of the things that the vibes bring about, okay? It doesn't bother me, but it annoys me because it's stupid. So I asked last night on Twitter after they lost, hey, can I get a vibe check? And people lost their minds. Now, there was some of you have a good sense of humor that interact with me on Twitter. At Buck Rising is where you go. And actually, we had a handful of Canes fans for some reason follow me on Twitter. I don't know why that is. I guess they're Titans fans but live in Carolina. Somehow that happened. So there's some Canes fans chirping at me too. Like I have any investment in this. But the sensitivity level of Preds Twitter, just because I'm poking them with a stick a little bit. Just having some fun at their expense. Because God forbid I have some fun at your team's expense after a game 1 loss. You got at least 3 more. Take a deep breath. 615-737-1045. Because we're going to have a discussion about this over the course of today's show. Which is the most sensitive Nashville sports fan base between the Preds and the Titans? Because Preds Twitter just whines in a way that is insufferable to me. And I don't understand why. Maybe I'm just the only one getting it because I've attacked their team's Twitter account enough that they just want to direct their complaints to me, which is fine. I welcome the waves of stupidity that lap upon my shores, okay? Bring it on home. At Buck Rising is where you can get in my mentions. But I think there's a legitimate conversation to be had because Titans Twitter is insane. I mean, they're just crazy people. And maybe there is a lot more of them than there are Preds Twitter. But Preds Twitter, man, it just sometimes they drive me nuts. 615-737-1045. Joseph is in Nashville. He wants to weigh in on the Nashville Predators and the Carolina Hurricanes. Game 1. What's going on, Joseph? Thanks for the call.
Hey, man. How you doing today?
I'm fantastic.
Hey, so I grew up in Carolina, so I'm a Carolina Hurricane fan, and
Okay.
I will tell you this. You guys, y'all think you're more than what you are. Trust me, we've been through the bad times, but this is our year. I just laugh at how much crap Nashville Predators fans talk to me when y'all barely got in the playoffs, and then y'all are.
Oh, we lose him? He just sink into the radio C there? Sorry, Joseph. Oh, we got you. Go ahead.
No, see, we were sitting half our starters during those last 2 games almost, and so y'all are like, oh, we're going to beat y'all. You're playoff hockey now, Buck. This is Carolina Hurricanes. We're going to the Stanley Cup. I just hate it that y'all are going to have to get trashed by us in the process of it, but it's part of it, man. Hurricanes for life, man. Sorry, guys. Y'all can go back in the decimal bin and watch us split the Stanley Cup over our heads.
Ooh, look at Joseph. I like it. Bringing the heat this morning. Thank you for the call. 615-737-1045. Like how is we have a massive signal, okay? From everything that I'm told, I know I'm a bit of a radio idiot. I just talk. I'm just the person that they turn the microphone on for me, and I sit here for 3 hours and I yell, okay? I don't know anything about frequency or the numbers or how any of this is measured, but I'm told the zone has a massive signal. How is it that the first time that I give out the number on all of the places that listen, all of the people that can get the zone, not just in Tennessee, but across the country, because we have people calling in all over the place, how y'all going to let the first person in here on the show be a Canes fan?
Well, he probably lives in Nashville.
Disgraceful. 615-737-1045.
I bet he goes to Preds games wearing Preds jerseys and now is rooting for the Canes in the playoffs.
I mean, but he's not wrong. Like,
No,
I'm not
he's not
disputing anything
Like,
that
the
he
Carolina
said.
Hurricanes are a better hockey team than the Nashville Predators. This is a fact.
There was nothing I saw last night because they looked, that first period, okay? And we'll get into this more on the other side. And I also want to ask the question because shout out Davey Shepard of Speedway Soccer, who does the Speedway. Is it called the Speedway Soccer Show?
No, tonight, the Nashville Soccer Show at 9 p.m. with myself, Davey, and Will Bowling.
Okay, thank you for correcting me. I should know that by now. It's been 2 months.
Yes,
Bad
you
job.
should.
Bad job out of me. But the Nashville Soccer Show, Davey Shepard, he had a great question that he put out on Twitter. We'll talk about Matt Duchene versus Jadeveon Clowney as the worst Nashville free agent signings. Maybe not in the history, but certainly in the last, 5 years probably. We'll talk about that here in a second. But that first period between the Preds and the Canes, it was hugely competitive. Like, Philip Forsberg is incredible. Always. Like, after so many years of watching him at this point, the things that he does should not surprise me. But that goal that he had to open the scoring, to give the Preds the early lead in the first period, it was magnificent.
Yeah, it was vintage Forsberg.
Yeah, and so, but after they scored, and whether you want to say that Carolina's first goal was a little fluky, it was a bunch of traffic in front of the net, looked like it just squeaked on by, but it got in there. After that first goal, the equalizer for Carolina, man, they were hot. Like, they came after the Preds in a way that, I mean, I would be lying to you if I said I watched a bunch of Carolina Hurricanes game this year. It's just not factually accurate. But watching this is the first hockey game that I've watched start to finish all year long. I was blown away by just how attack. They were so incredibly aggressive in a way that just the Preds looked like they had their tail between their legs. Whether they did or they didn't, they're not in the same class. Not even remotely.
I thought it was evenly matched throughout the first period, but you could see it sort of getting away from the Preds about midway through the second, despite it still being a 2-2 game in the second intermission. But yeah, the third period, the Preds just could never find any consistency in the Hurricane zone. That is the fastest top line in the NHL.
Sebastian Aho, man, he flew down the ice before he scored. What was that? The second goal for Carolina.
He did not score, but yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. But he had it on the point, I believe. Anyway, he was moving down the ice really fast. Hashtag analysis. 615-737-1045. 615-737-1045. If you want to react to the Preds, if you want to chirp back at a Canes fan who beat you guys to the punch this morning, I don't know how you all let that happen, but that's on you. It's not on me. I'm Buck Rising. It's 1045 The Zone.
When it comes to Titans football, the Blaine and Mickey podcast is off the charts.
The top of the charts of the charts of the charts. Yep.
Subscribe to Blaine and Mickey wherever you get your podcasts to get the best on Titans football. 1045 The Zone.
Tell you about the fine folks at DraftKings Sportsbook. It is now time to hammer the over in the DraftKings Sportsbook app. They have an incredible promotion going on for you guys, how you can make all kinds of money using the top-rated DraftKings Sportsbook app. Because it's playoff time. Big stakes mean bigger promotions. It's time to hammer the over and score some cash. DraftKings Sportsbook is giving you a chance to lower the over-under, and I believe they have announced the game, which is very exciting because now you have an actual game that you can lower the over-under on. It's Dallas and the Clippers in the DraftKings Sportsbook app. The ability to bring down the over-under with every 1,500 players who bet the over on the Dallas Mavericks versus the Los Angeles Clippers. The over-under will drop by 1 point. The best part is that even as the line lowers, the odds remain at even money. That's right. You can double your money by hammering the over. So download the top-rated DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use the promo code WGFX when you sign up to hammer the over. For every 1,500 people that bet the over in the Mavericks versus the Clippers, the line will decrease by 1 point. This is your chance to improve the odds of the over hitting. So tell your friends and family. It's a team effort. Hammer the over and improve your odds of doubling your money with promo code WGFX for a limited time only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Must be 21 years or older and present in Tennessee to bet. Restrictions apply. Max $25 wager. One per customer. Offer ends 5/23/21. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call or text the Tennessee Red Line 1-800-889-9789. about who is the worst free agent signing between worst Nashville free agent signing, Jadeveon Clowney or Matt Duchene. We're going to talk about that in a second. If you want to weigh in, 615-737-1045. But do you want to start tweeting out your playlist like Schaefer does for J. Martin Ramon, or is that like a pain for you? Because we get tweets about your music. They seem to like it. I don't know if you want to do that. Does that sound like a hassle?
Let's put it to a poll. Why not?
Okay. On my Twitter account or your Twitter account? You're going to do your own poll?
Yeah, I'll do my own poll.
Look at you, growing up in front of my very eyes. So, by the way, before we get into this, Dawn Davenport, the nerve. The absolute nerve. She's so sweet to me every time that I come on, for the most part. So sweet to me every time I come on 3HL on Monday. But she just knifes me in the side because, God love her, she listens to the radio show, it feels like most days, because she will send me her commentary via text. But Dawn has texted us in a group saying, supporting you because you had a good chirp at me in the first segment. You want to explain to the audience what you did?
Yeah, I asked, are you a Nashvilleian or are you a non-Nashvilleian?
Why? Why did you ask that question?
Well, it seems as though you pick and choose times to, and I'm not to say you have to be an open Preds fan or a Titan. It is a good thing that you are not a Titans fan. That is a good thing because you cover the Titans.
Okay.
But, you go to Preds games, you have fun, you enjoy when the hockey team has success, and then you just bash them whenever they get down.
Yeah.
So are you a Nashvilleian or are you a non-Nashvilleian? I'm not saying you got to be Sunshine Pumper, but,
Sunshine Pumper. Yeah, that's me. Put it on my tombstone.
And Don texted us, said, are you a Nashvilleian? In quotes, get him, Lucas.
Okay. Listen, should we put that on a poll?
Is Buck
Am I a Nashvilleian?
Nashvilleian?
Put it on. Is it a poll from me or is it a poll from you? So many polls. There's like 7 of them out there now. At Buck Rising on Twitter.
This could be another key step in my overtaking of you, is just slowly migrating the polls to my account.
I mean, listen, if you have the stones to finally, handle somebody else's Twitter account other than mine, please do.
I really do enjoy the lack of repercussions by handling your Twitter account, so I don't know if I want to get away from that just yet.
Yeah, just giving you access to 10,000 more people than you normally do. I'm not trying to follow or shame you. I'm just saying you have a much louder microphone as soon as you press send on my Twitter, which you do basically from 9:30 to 1 every day.
I would be foolish not to take advantage of that.
Gives me great concern. Mikey Dreamer writes in on Twitch, which you can, by the way, watch the show on 104.5 The Zone TV, YouTube, Facebook Live, Periscope, and Twitch. Mikey Dreamer writes in, the Lucas Panzica fan club is growing.
I hope so.
Okay. Oh, goodness. It's true. He's just actively trying to usurp me, knock me off the throne, the mountaintop that we sit here. But in the meantime, the show is still under my name, so back the hell off. Dawn, are you a Nashvilleian? Unbelievable. My thing with this is, okay, because I understand, right? And honestly, it's why I try to pigeonhole Lucas as a fan all the time. Because I'm not, I don't think that's, I want to make sure that I phrase my words correctly. I am a sports fan. I am a sports reporter. I talk sports. Talk sports, dummy. We should get a T-shirt made with that. That's basically the theme of the show. Talk sports, dummy. But and Scott Bowen on Facebook Live says talking about why I am comfortable enjoying the Preds' success and then ripping them afterwards is because he says that's easy. Buck ain't from here, so it's not just because of that. I'm from Indiana. I would totally take out the Colts, the Pacers. I regularly savage my team that I care about the most. The only team in my life that I'm a fan of, I'm wearing it today. Okay, it's the only team apparel that well, that's not true because I have a Nashville SC pullover, so I can't speak from that completely ignorant of. But I'm an Indiana Hoosiers fan, right? I went there. I'm from there. I care about my basketball team. Everything else can basically kick rocks because I heard we played for a national title last night in soccer, and I didn't find out about it until this morning.
You lost.
Yeah, thanks to Marshall. So, but I think it's my job to be objective. But I understand why you guys, you listening, you watching, however you're consuming 104.5 The Zone, I understand why you want somebody who thinks the way that you do, who is a fan of your teams. That's why I try to pigeonhole Lucas as the fan, because we need that. That's why your calls are so important to this show. We need the voice of the fan, because I am not going to look at it that way. I'll look at it as a sports fan, but with your teams, it is important to me, or at least I think it's critical to me, to kind of keep that distance. And I don't know if people care about that, but I do feel like sometimes I got to explain that to people so that they don't get it twisted about what this is. I'm going to try and I'm not going to try. I'm going to be as honest with you as humanly possible about the way that I feel. And last night I felt that your hockey team looked like hell, especially in the third period.
But you don't lie. You take pleasure. You do take pleasure in the Preds failing. As much as and you take pleasure out of the Preds succeeding as well.
Sure,
but you can't have it both ways.
No, I can. I don't root for the Preds to have here's how I'll say it. And by the way, if you want to jump in, 615-737-1045. 615-737-1045. You want to rip me for doing that? You're totally welcome to. I completely understand why you'd want to. Okay? Buck is a fan of chaos, says Justin on YouTube. You're damn right. So it's listen, it's the best line in Game of Thrones. I send it to my friends all the time when I do something that basically knifes them in the back. Chaos isn't a pit. Chaos is a ladder. I'm just out here climbing the ladder, baby. So what I'll say about this is, I am definitely invested in the success of the Titans, the Preds, Nashville SC, the Vols, hell, Vanderbilt, all local sports teams. Because I financially stand to gain from the sports teams doing better. So we make no bones about that. If the Titans go to the playoffs, even if I'm an objective Titans reporter, that's good for me. It's good for me visibility-wise. It's good for me audience-wise. It's good for my bank account. I'm not going to lie to you. But outside of that, we have to be objective about the way that we talk about your sports teams. So with that being said, I watched the Preds game, and yeah, I did have a little bit of fun on Twitter trolling people when I said, can I get a vibe check when the Preds lost? Because I think the vibe thing is largely annoying, and if I can annoy people back, then I feel better about it. And we'll get to your calls, because I got a lot. I see a lot of you jumping on the phone lines. Like I said, if you want to rip me, you can. If you want to agree with me, you're welcome to. Whatever. Buckethead says, I'm a big fan of, I'll say, crapping on the teams that I love. I feel like most fans are like that. I feel like most fans are realistic.
It's okay to be even-keeled of being happy when there's success and not being, overly, just heaping, I don't even know the word is
praise, heaping praise. Is that what you're trying to say?
No, when things are bad, just being, not going.
Burying them?
Yeah, not going too far to each side. Being ecstatic when they do well and just burying them when things go poorly. You got to strike a good balance.
The only time that I've straight up taken out a local sports team was the Titans in Week 6 of 2019 when Marcus Mariota got benched, because I flat out said they wasted my Sunday with how awful that football game was. That is one that I will take with me to the grave about how angry I was. First time that I've been visibly angry about being paid to go to Denver to watch a football game and eat free press box food. I was pissed. That's the only time that I've gone overly emotional about it. And I think that does sometimes, it can have the ability to affect your credibility. But with the Preds, I just like leaning into a little bit, because Preds Twitter is so damn dramatic. Just relax a little bit.
Yeah,
I'm just having fun with you. 615-737-1045. Corey is in Hendersonville. He wants to chime in this morning. What's going on, Corey?
Not much, Buck. Hey, I don't always agree with it. I am going to agree with you on this.
Okay.
We need people like you and Dawn Davenport on the radio. Dawn's an Auburn fan. She has no affiliation to Tennessee whatsoever. And it's good that you don't have any affiliation to the Titans or the Preds. We need an objective view from somebody outside of the state that can tell us what we need to hear. And as a Braves fan, I like listening to Will Bowling too when he gets upset about the fact that our bullpen is crap.
All they do is hit home runs. They don't score otherwise, the Atlanta Braves. Thank you for the call, Corey. we don't outright. I don't know. It's a difficult balance.
It's good to have both.
It's a difficult balance, and especially like for you and me, Lucas, because I say it's a one-man show. It's not a one-man show. The show doesn't happen without Lucas. And we have a bunch of voices around here that make this show possible, even if it's just my name on the billing, which is mostly just to stroke my ego and keep me happy so I don't complain about other things. But for me, we try to give you as much balance as we can, humanly possible, but also, like, I'm coming at this from the way that I'm trained. And I may not be a classically trained journalist because I come from the internet, and it's a much different world when you're talking about the media space. But it is as honest as I can be with you to approach it from that direction. And I feel like most people appreciate that, but I don't know. 615-737-1045. We'll get into Jadeveon Clowney versus Matt Duchene as the worst Nashville free agent signings, we'll say in the last 5 years, because I don't think anybody tops that. Maybe Vic Beasley. But we first go to Charlie in Franklin. He wants to weigh in on the Preds. What's going on, Charlie? Thanks for the call.
Yeah, I don't have. My brother is a 4-time Hall of Fame coach in Indiana, so you probably know who Jim Miller is.
I sure
do. But anyway, my point is that I don't understand why you laugh. I don't mind you complaining about a hockey team, but the way you laugh, it's the way you present yourself that would be insulting to me. I don't. Do you not understand that you don't even when I beat somebody, I don't laugh at them. That's to me that the laughing is the most tragic thing that you have. I think you ought to be reprimanded and taken off the air for maybe a day over that, just because you laughed.
Yeah, well,
so
I guess
I don't know if you
go if
I'm
you
sorry.
can. No, you're just fine, Charlie, and I appreciate the call. Listen, you guys are more than welcome to provide feedback any way that you want to, and I try to make sure that I'm receptive of that, certainly. But what is it specifically? Because I laughed at the Preds losing?
Yeah, you kind of make fun of the coaches and the players. They do the very best they can. And the coach, he's got to make a decision. So he made a bad decision. My brother made a lot of bad decisions, but he won 76% of his games. But the point is that if you try to make fun of those players, I mean, if I was one of those athletes and I seen you on the street and you made fun of me, well, I'd bust you in the mouth. I know I would.
Well, and
because
that's totally.
That's just not. You don't do that to athletes.
Well, Charlie, and that's why I make it. And I appreciate the call. Thank you for the feedback. 615-737-1045. Charlie, that's why I go to the Titans locker room, because I talk all this smack and I will walk in there the next day. Absolutely, every time. That's an important part of this job. Now, I'm not a credentialed Preds media member, but I have a 3-hour talk show, and I can't just talk Titans for 3 hours a day. So I understand what you're saying about the Preds, but like I won't say that I'm not scared of them, because they're giant rage monsters that crash into each other, getting car wrecks for a living, basically. And they are massive human beings. And I'm 6'2", 225. Like, I'm not a small human being, but they make me feel small. So I won't say that I'm not at sometimes scared of them, but I will walk into that locker room every day after I say that Mike Vrabel has made a cowardly decision to punt on 4th and 2. I will be in that press conference the next day. That's my job. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah. I understand what Charlie's – because I get why that bothers people, because I do. I treat a lot of this as a joke. We do a spoof of a sports show. This isn't serious box score reading, like, I don't know. We are – I think we're different that way. And I like to have fun. I like to laugh. I like to laugh at other people's expense, if I'm being completely honest with you. That's 70% of the content. But there is a degree of this, and somehow this has turned into a referendum on me, which is funny. But because I can laugh. I mean, Charlie, I think, and Charlie has since hung up, but I think I don't know how much of the show Charlie listens to, because it sounds like I bother him a little bit. And I understand. I'm not for everybody. Totally get that. But I would also say to you, Charlie, that there is a lot of this show is built around making fun of me. We design it that way. The show is largely designed to bother me, to piss me off, to make fun of me so that it gets a better version of me.
It's just about who takes things that are said seriously and who doesn't on this show. And you can be a fan in media and still be equally fair. Like, you can be a diehard Preds fan, not watch any other team, and say that the Matt Duchene deal is a very bad deal for the Preds.
Yes.
That is a fact. Like, that is not a matter of opinion.
Yeah. So I get what Charlie's saying. Professional athletes, coaches, whether they be college or pro, and I know who his brother is, so I completely understand what he's talking about from that standpoint, because these guys have a lot of pride. They give up so much of their time and their lives to do this thing, even if it is just a game, because it is just a game. And I treat it as just a game. We work in the adult version of the playground. It's sports. It ain't that deep. So, Charlie, when I laugh, one, it's to break it up, because I'm the only one who can tell jokes and I'm the only one who can laugh at the jokes in the studio. That's as much for how the show sounds as anything else. And, yeah, it's easier to be sarcastic and be mean and be funny as it is to be nice and be funny. You don't see a lot of nice comedians, and I'm not a comedian, but, like, you don't see a lot of nice, funny people out there, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So, Charlie, because I really do I like that people like Charlie call in when they want to clap back at me. I want more of that, because I don't want people just coming in here and saying, "Oh, you're doing such a great job. Congrats on the show." Yada yada yada. All right, let's go to Kenny here in Kentucky. He wants to pray. Lucas, you set me up for this. Kenny, what's going on, man? We appreciate the call.
Did I tell him I want to praise you? Is that what I said?
No, it's written up on my call screener, Kenny. So if you want to rip me, that's cool too.
No, man, I really do, man, because just the voice of reason, man. Like, I don't know. I enjoy the fact that, I don't know, it's just a different perspective, I guess. Like, first of all, I'm not going to punch you in the mouth. I'm not going to do anything.
Charlie out here threatening violence on me. Like, Charlie's going to come after me, sounds like.
I know, man. He sounds like you got some years on you, But
just a little bit.
What was it Taylor once said, that you talk like you have a mouthful of marbles or something? What was that?
That's accurate.
Yeah.
But we have fun with it.
I was thinking more like a mouthful of syrup. I love you. You are such, dude, I'm just saying, that's really all I got. Like, you're killing it, man, every day. Thank you.
Thank you, Kenny. 615. I promise we didn't. Well, Lucas set that up. I didn't set that up.
That was just happenstance. Like, Kenny called in like 10 minutes ago. He's been on hold, and you said, please call in and rip me. And
so we got a really nice one.
I just love you, man.
I just love you, man. Yeah, that was really sweet. 615-737-1045. Now, if Charlie sees me, he's going to swing on me. He said I should be suspended. You think I should be suspended? That's it. I mean, I'm sure he's not the only one that feels that way. Because I don't know what the percentage of people that call in versus like the percentage of people who actually like just listen to the show. I know it's a much, much smaller percentage that actually call the radio show. And now that we have the comment section, I feel like more people are prone to interact that way. But I feel like Charlie is probably representative of a certain segment of the 104.5 The Zone listening audience. Want to just punch me in the mouth.
Yeah, Charlie, not a fan.
Not a fan. That's okay. That's okay. Buck should have hit Charlie with a, hey, do me a favor. No, because I can't say what comes after, hey, do me a favor. But I'm on to you, Justin. That's a bussin' with the boys.
But we appreciate the dissent. It's a good thing.
We do. All feedback, negative or positive, always welcome. But, Charlie, you're going to need to hang on for a second because I'm going to laugh a little bit at your hockey team, okay? That's just how it's going to be. Because, and I'm not going to, and let me make this clear, okay? I respect absolutely every person out on that ice yesterday for both teams, for the Carolina Hurricanes and for the Nashville Predators, certainly. But for the first time in my life, Lucas, I went on Spotrac. Oh, wait, we got to go. We'll come back and talk about this on the other side. I got all caught up in how Kenny was giving me my flowers. I'm Buck Rising. It's 104.5 The Zone.
Your Nashville Predators are in the Stanley Cup playoffs. In a best of
I watched Matt Duchene last Monday, and I watched Matt Duchene last night. He has been here for 2 seasons now, Lucas. That is accurate?
Yes, feels like longer.
Because he has vastly underperformed. Like, this is not the Matt Duchene of the Columbus Blue Jackets that helped oust the President's Trophy winning Tampa Bay Lightning in the first round. This is a much different player at this point in his career, or at least seems to be. So there has been conversations all season long about the competency, whether it's and I'm never here's the one thing that I will say that I do take very seriously, and maybe this will assuage people like Charlie, but I doubt it. I don't talk about players' effort in professional sports. Football, hockey, basketball, I just don't. I don't know what level of effort they're giving. I don't know whether they are not giving substantial enough effort. Sometimes you can tell, but I do think that it's a dangerous thing to say out loud because you have no idea what's going on in these dudes' life for the most part. And they're not going to tell you. So it's just kind of the effort conversation is not one that I like to have, even with somebody like Jadeveon Clowney, because that came up a lot. Vic Beasley as well. It's just not something, not a criticism, the one point of criticism that I'm not comfortable getting after. But with Matt Duchene, not effort, but performance. You can give effort and still it not be enough. Because Davey Shepard put out this question after the Preds lost last night. Because Matt Duchene is he's tied for the highest paid player on the Preds roster. The other one also underperforming in Ryan Johansson, who basically just stood there in front of the net while a goal flew past him. 615-737-1045 if you want to jump in. I watched Matt Duchene last Monday in a game that didn't matter to anybody really except the Nashville Predators franchise and Pekka Rinne. His 60th career shutout, a 5-0 game against a bunch of Carolina scrubs. And Lucas came in here the next day, Tuesday, after that game, when everybody was celebrating Pekka Rinne, and we did that. But also, and I don't want to mischaracterize Lucas, he'll come back and talk about this in a second, Lucas was not spitting mad, but you were pretty pissed about Matt Duchene and the way that he performed, because he had 2 goals in that game.
Perturbed.
You were bothered.
I was perturbed.
Okay. Explain to people why you were bothered.
Well, first of all, Matt Duchene was on a different line than we had seen throughout the course of the season. He was on the quote-unquote Jofa line, just without the A, with Forsberg and Ryan Johansson for that regular season finale against the Hurricanes. He has a great game. He scores a pair of goals in a season where he has scored 6 goals in total. 2 of them came on that last regular season day where, you talk about all the X factors about the Preds' confidence going into the playoffs. On paper, that game didn't matter in terms of clinching the postseason, standing, seeding, whatever. So it's frustrating when a player who you paid all of this big money for has vastly underperformed when he is available, because he's been unavailable a lot this season. And by far his best performance of the year came in a meaningless outing. And then turn around in the playoffs, Lyndsay Rowley kind of flipped it on us, right? Because she said, okay, well, think about if he plays poorly in that game going into the postseason and what that does to his confidence in the conversation around Duchene. Well, yeah, he got an assist the other night, but that was it. It was not a good performance by Matt Duchene. Alex Doherty has metrics that can explain this and back it up better than I can right now. But it was not a good performance for a guy who has to have a great series for the Preds to keep pace with the Hurricanes.
So this whole thing that Alex told us yesterday about playoff Duchene, right? That was the spiel.
Yeah. And that's what, like, you talk about the Columbus knocking off the Lightning in that one. That regular season was not a good one for Matt Duchene. He was injured throughout that regular season. He had 5 goals and 5 assists in the postseason alone. He matched his goal total from the regular season in the playoffs that year when they swept the Lightning. And, yeah, playoff Matt Duchene has been a thing throughout his career. It's a big reason why the Preds gave him that money, because he doesn't have that performance in the postseason that year, I believe 2018-19 season. There's no way he gets that contract following a poor regular season.
So he gets an 8-year deal, $8 million annually. I know that now for the first time because I looked it up last night, because everybody continuously all season long for the past 2 seasons basically, critical, hugely critical, hypercritical of Matt Duchene. Then I looked up what his salary was. And I hate to dive into somebody else's bank account, somebody else's money, but if you're the highest paid player on the team, you got to perform. 6 goals in the regular season. I don't care how many injuries you dealt with, it's not good enough. The amount of money that they have spent on Ryan Johansson and Matt Duchene in a salary-capped sport is ghastly. And I don't know whether to blame David Poyle for that, because I think the performance, you can go back and forth on Johansson. It's a little bit of a recurring theme, it seems, about Johansson. And again, that's another player that people have been critical of his effort. I don't know the level of effort that Ryan Johansson is giving on a nightly basis, so I'm going to avoid conversations like that. But for $16 million a year for those 2 players, it's not good enough. It's simply not. Especially when you hold that up against last Monday. Not yesterday, but last Monday. Where you see him look like the guy that you paid for, except it's against a bunch of bums. You cannot be a show pony in a meaningless game and then contribute next to nothing in your team's first game of the postseason. You simply cannot. That is the position that I know many of you have taken on Matt Duchene. I don't know him personally. I've never had the opportunity to talk to him. I would love to talk to Matt Duchene. I don't know if he would ever be interested in coming on this radio show, but he has an open invitation.
We're trying.
Are we?
Yes.
Okay. How's that going for us? Not well?
Not great, but it's also the time slot, I think, has something to do with it.
Well, are we making excuses for them?
I don't know.
Okay.
Maybe.
Well, that's interesting. I did not know that we were efforting Matt Duchene, but I would, and if anybody's
not Matt Duchene, but just players specifically. We've been trying to get a player on this show for the last couple weeks.
Okay. Well, I'd take Duchene. I want to talk to him about this. I don't know if he's comfortable talking about it openly. He should be. This is why the NFL is superior this way. Not just to the NHL, but to all sports. They're not coddled, the players in the NFL. They are held accountable. Whether you guys think we as a Nashville media corps are hard enough on them, a different conversation entirely. But we have plenty of opportunities to grill them on why they aren't performing. This is not the case, it seems, with the NHL, whether it's the NBA, Major League Soccer. The other leagues are different because the NFL doesn't have to care.
And the praise needs to come with that, too. And the praise has come for guys like UC Saros and Roman Josi winning the Norris Trophy last season.
I think that I have glowed regularly about what UC Saros is and what he means to this team, even if I've continually pronounced his last name incorrectly.
Yeah, works both ways.
So I think that it's long past time for players like that to be held accountable. And I'm curious as to why nobody's doing it and why they're not being made available for people to do it. We'll talk more about this on the other side. We will also get into a conversation about what's happening across the NFL and the most interesting quarterback divisions in the league. Mike DiRocco, he covers the Jags. We'll ask him what the hell is going on in Jacksonville as well. I'm Buck Rising. It's 104.5 The Zone.
Get Jason Martin and Ramon Foster on J. Cumulus Station. Our season never ends. Your home for Titans and Vols football. Trending now at 104.5 The Zone.
It is 11:03. Good morning. I'm Lucas Panzica. The Preds dropped Game 1 of the Stanley Cup playoffs first round at the Carolina Hurricanes last night. 5-2 the final after giving up 3 goals in the first period. Philip Forsberg and Eric Howell, the goal scorers for Nashville. Jordan Stahl scored 2 for the Canes. Game 2 in Raleigh is on Wednesday. The Titans have signed former Vandy wide receiver Kalijah Lipscomb, who spent the weekend at rookie minicamp here in Nashville. Also spent time on the Chiefs and Packers practice squads last season. Lipscomb had over 2,000 receiving yards throughout his Vanderbilt career and is tied for second in school history in touchdown catches with 22. The Braves fell to the Mets yesterday 3-1 to start a 3-game series. Game 2 tonight is a 6:20 first pitch at Truist Park. Speaking of the Braves, the Nashville Sound start a 6-game set against the Gwinnett Stripers tonight at First Horizon Park. The Stripers are the AAA affiliate of the Braves. It's the first time a Braves AAA program plays here in Nashville. College baseball tonight, 4th-ranked Tennessee hosts the Belmont Bruins. First pitch at 6:30, and the Vandy Boys hosting Florida International also at 6:30. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once in your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
The most successful streaming and podcasting talent in Nashville is Buck Riley.
Here from Bally Sports. But Lucas brought this up this morning about which division in the NFL, which of the 8 divisions, has the most interesting quarterback situation. Now, you could define interesting in a variety of ways. Interesting does not mean best, because I think you would look at the quarterback divisions, and that's a much different conversation, or the divisions of quarterbacks, and have a much different conversation. If you're talking about the best quarterback division, that's not what we're talking about. I'm simply looking at storylines, because this came up with the AFC South, basically. And I think there's a really good argument for it. Because you have Ryan Tannehill, career resurgence, on a contender, an AFC South title winner, performing, or at least with the efficiency of one of the best quarterbacks in the sport. Ryan Tannehill, for as little as people pay attention to him, especially on this team, when you're a little bit masked by Derrick Henry and A.J. Brown, and really even Mike Vrabel. Like, you want to talk about personalities and people that you gravitate to, Mike's a little bit of the face of the franchise. Not a little bit, a lot. I don't know how many of you saw that TikTok video of the little girl looking at the picture of Mike in a magazine and saying, "Look at this beautiful man," and then kissing the page.
What?
You haven't seen this?
No.
I'm gonna text it to you. In fact, Lucas, can you tweet this out after I text it to you, because this is pretty comical. And in fact, while I do that, because I'm not capable of scrolling, actually I am capable of scrolling through my texts whilst I talk, so everybody just hang on tight, because this video is quite entertaining. But it's a video that got tweeted out by Fast Nasty. He's the producer of the Raw Room, which is Darren Bates' podcast. And it's a little girl, it's a TikTok that he screen recorded and posted on Twitter. And this little girl is flipping through the pages of, I don't know if it's her mom's magazine or if it's a Sports Illustrated or what. I didn't realize people still got magazines. I didn't realize in the year of the Rona 2021 that magazines were still a thing. I thought everybody was reading it on tablets or on their phones or on the internet like a normal person at this point. But this is like a hard copy of a magazine. And there's a page, it looks like some kind of photo shoot, and Mike Vrabel is on this page. And I've just texted it to you now, Lucas, so you can watch it while I'm describing it. But she's like petting the picture of Mike Vrabel. This little girl she couldn't be more than, I will say, 4 or 5. Like she's just barely a person at this point. But I'm going to open it so I can see the full video. Hopefully the sound doesn't come through. But she says she's talking about this beautiful man in the magazine. And it's a picture of Mike.
Oh, my God.
Are you watching it?
Yeah, she pets him.
She's petting him.
She pets the picture.
Straight up petting him. So she's petting the picture. She plants a big old kiss on the picture of Mike. And then Mike apparently, and I don't know if this is confirmed. In fact, I should reach out to see if we can get confirmation on whether Mike Vrabel is the person that actually texted the mom about this. Because apparently the video made its way to Vrabel. And he sent the family of the little girl a message, and I'm waiting for the TikTok to get to the point of the message so I can read the message. We completely got distracted from the quarterback conversation. But Vrabel sends a text, says, please tell your daughter she is adorable and pretty beautiful herself. In fact, Lucas, can we play the audio of this? Because I think the audio translates. Like, the video itself is pretty funny, but I feel like you got to hear the audio. This is, we produce the show on the fly. So Vrabel texts the little girl's family, please tell your daughter, allegedly, we don't know if this is Mike or not, please tell your daughter she is adorable and pretty beautiful herself, and thank her for being such a big fan. Signed, Mike Vrabel. So they read, and let me just let the TikTok itself tell the story, because you'll hear what the little girl's response was to Vrabel's text, courtesy of Fast Nasty on Twitter.
That's a beautiful man. Where are they? Where is he? That's a beautiful man.
Oh my God. Oh no.
So this is the part where it's showing the text in the TikTok.
He said, you're beautiful too.
Thanks, Mike. I'll just call him Michael. I'll just call him that.
She said, she squeals in delight and says, thanks, Mike. I'll just call him Michael.
That was adorable.
I'll just call him Michael. It's so pure.
Yeah,
so wholesome. So I hope perhaps we will receive confirmation on whether Mike actually texted the family, or if this is not a catfish, Dean Pease, hey, come work out for the Falcons type situation. That's not funny. That was a bad thing that happened. That's something that Charlie should punch me in the face for laughing at that. Yeah. That's fair. But that was a very wholesome moment on the internet. How the hell did we get there? I had a whole quarterback conversation prepared, Lucas. What happened?
I don't know, but we've used up the whole segment.
Okay. We'll come back and we'll talk to Mike DiRocco. And then we'll get into this quarterback conversation. Because, frankly, there's been enough strange stories coming out of Jacksonville where Urban Meyer is playing Travis Etienne, the rookie running back, the first-round pick out of Clemson, all throughout rookie minicamp at wide receiver. And then there's the Tim Tebow thing and all of the other things that Urban Meyer is doing in his first year in the league. And I want to know what the hell's going on with the Jags. So we're going to talk about that with Mike DiRocco. He covers them for ESPN. That's coming up next. I'm Buck Rising. This is 104.5 The Zone.
The Titan Station. Yes! This is 104.5 The Zone, Nashville.
college head coach is running the Jags. So as we all know, in a lot of businesses and a lot of things like that, it's who you know, not what you know. And he phoned Urban. Urban and he are really close. They're actually their own houses on the same street now in this Jacksonville Golf and Country Club subdivision. So Urban said, "Yeah, come on in and work out." And if the tight end coach or the guys that were out there that saw him didn't think he was worth signing, they probably wouldn't do it. But they see something and maybe they'll figure out a different way to use him.
At ESPN DiRocco is where you can follow Mike covering the Jags for ESPN.com. I guess let's go back to the ETN thing first, because we saw the comments from Urban. I believe it was after ETN was drafted, or maybe a day after the fact, where Urban made a comment about him being a third down back, and that got caused again a stir. With the football cognoscenti, for lack of a better term, because they're looking at this, they say, Urban, you just got this guy in the first round. The idea that he would just be relegated to a third down role is a little bit ridiculous. But when you give it the context of, okay, Lawrence coming off of surgery, they're not going to do anything under center, no handoffs. They're going to make it. They're going to work around him, which is absolutely what they should do. It makes it less, I guess, offensive to the rest of the football community who's looking at Travis Etienne and getting all these snaps at wide receiver. When we do they deserve the benefit of the doubt, I guess is what I'm asking, Mike, because I understand the logic and anything that, at least from our worldview, dealing with Mike Vrabel, the line is always, well, this is what we think is in the best interest of the football team. And both of these moves, whether it's ETN in a primarily third down role or just the general idea of Tim Tebow, there are significant questions about whether they are actually being done with the means of improving the football team. Urban Meyer is a legendary coach, without question. In the college ranks, though, the NFL, as we well know, a totally different ballgame, a totally different business. Just generally, do they deserve the benefit of the doubt at this point? Are we being too critical of Urban Meyer just because he's a polarizing figure?
Well, let me just clear something up with the ETN thing here, because you're right. Urban did say third down back. I think it was right after they drafted him, and then he went on to explain the next time we got him. It's like, he's going to be a guy that carries. He's going to be a runner. Out of the backfield, the guy that catches passes, like Percy Harvin. Percy Harvin wasn't a third down back. So Urban has done this before, where he'll say something and he doesn't fully explain himself, and then the next time you get him to explain it, that happened at Florida at times too. And then you go, okay, I see what you were saying. If you just said that 2 days ago, then we would have had a better idea. Right. But yeah, so he's not going to be a third down back. But you're right, he did say that. Now, here's the way I look at what's happening here in Jacksonville, whether it's ETN as a Percy guy or giving Tebow a tryout as a tight end. This team has made the playoffs once since 2007. Their owner, Shad Khan, bought the team in November of 2011, and he is the second fastest owner in the history of the NFL to reach 100 losses. One game behind Hugh Culverhouse, who owned the awful Bucks back in the day. 9 of the last 10 seasons, they've had 10 or more losses. So the bottom line is every decision, or almost every decision they've made over the last decade or so, has been wrong.
Yeah.
What they've tried has been wrong. So why not try something completely and totally different? Because the knew it wasn't working, and it's almost like that Seinfeld episode where, if every instinct George Costanza has is wrong, then he should just do the opposite. And I think, honestly, that's the way I look at these Jaguars this year. Does it sound – I mean, look, you're hiring a guy to save your franchise that has never coached in the NFL before. Okay, you know what? Well, you tried NFL head coaches before. You tried guys that had been in the NFL for a while and not been a head coach, and that didn't work. Okay, so you tried drafting just straight running backs. You tried drafting just straight wide receivers. It didn't work. You just find a playmaker, and let's see what we can do. So I kind of get what they're doing, but whatever he does, whatever Urban does, is going to be dissected and criticized. So I don't think there's anything wrong with dissecting it and criticizing it and not giving him the benefit of the doubt, because until you've accomplished something, you don't get the benefit of the doubt.
Right.
But I understand the whole why Shot Khan is doing this, why he picked Urban. I understand it's not going to look like a normal NFL franchise. It's not going to be the way normal NFL people run it. And we all know when someone's an outlier, they're ridiculed and, kind of laughed at. And, in some cases it's probably warranted. But, again, with the Jags, everything has been wrong. So try something different, and I totally get it.
Mike DiRocco of ESPN here with us on 104.5 The Zone. We're talking about the Jacksonville Jaguars and some of the crazy headlines that have come out of there, given that they are in the Titans division, and that's going to be a team, again, that they face twice a year. Pretty interesting storylines to be able to follow. I guess, Mike, with Urban in general, I know it hasn't been a significant amount of time that you've been covering him since he's become an NFL coach, a head coach, but where do you see the steepest learning curve for him being?
Oh, wow, that's a really good question. I still think the X's and O's part is not going to be the part that is a problem with him.
Sure.
He's not going to be as much as hands-on involved in terms of offense as he was at his other stops, I think. He said he's going to be a little bit more CEO-ish, and he was smart in terms of hiring guys that have NFL experience, a lot of NFL experience as his coordinators. I just think the learning how to navigate the season, which is so much longer, and that includes handling the losses. I mean, that was the big question when he got hired. I've never been around a coach. I covered University of Florida football, basketball, baseball for 13 years. Okay, I've never ever been around a coach in any sport that takes losing as hard as Urban Meyer did. Now, the difference is, in the NFL, you lose 6 games a year for 3 years, you're probably getting a contract extension.
Right.
You lose 6 games a year for 3 years at Ohio State, you're getting your rear end fired. So I think the biggest adjustment is going to be for him how to navigate the length of the season and how to handle just basically losing, and they're going to lose. I mean, they were 1-15. Now, were they? I could argue they weren't a 1-15 team. They had better talent than that, but your record is what your record is. So they've got a long way to go. And getting Trevor Lawrence is a big start, but clearly there's other holes there. And I think there's just the whole, so when you haven't done something, you just really don't know what you don't know until you go through it. And I think we're going to see Urban deal with some of that stuff too, in terms of injuries. Waiver wire pickups, that kind of stuff. He's just kind of learning on the fly. And then I think, after that, you can step back and take a look and see where probably his biggest issue was. But I do think the losses are going to be a problem that he's going to have to deal with.
It's going to be fascinating, honestly, not just because of the connections between Urban Meyer and Mike Vrabel here and the fact that they'll now play twice a year in the division, just to see if he is the next or one of a few college coaches who is able to make the jump to the pros and have some modicum of success, especially given the franchise that he's going to be overseeing. Mike DiRocco of ESPN. You can follow him at ESPN DiRocco. Of course, read him along with our friend Teron Davenport at ESPN.com. Mike, I really appreciate the insight. I got to quit laughing at people so much, though. I already had a caller today threaten to swing on me if I continue to laugh at the local hockey team around here. So I'm going to try to take a little easier on people, I guess.
Well, you got to do what you got to do there. I mean, everybody's mad about something, aren't they?
It's the whole reason that sports talk radio exists. I got to be.
Right. Well, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Take care, Mike. Mike DiRocco there with ESPN. It's interesting, right? Because we are, and myself included, I am so prepared to jump on Urban Meyer's head real quick. Like I am waiting, and it's partly because the backstory of Urban, the character questions around Urban Meyer that I don't have personal experience from, but he's been around long enough. There's been enough journalism and reporting done on it that you kind of have an idea of who Urban Meyer is, right? So this is a little bit, we talked about being objective earlier in the show. This is a little bit where my biases might be getting the best of me, because immediately I want to laugh at Urban Meyer. I don't terrible. I don't think much of him just based on what I know, based on what his history has been. That may not be fair. It may not be unfair either. If you want to weigh in, 615-737-1045. We're going to get into, how this kind of affects the division and the Titans specifically more in this segment. But I think there are, I don't know why it's more interesting with Urban. Maybe because he's been in our sports ecosystem in so many different ways for so long now. I mean, decades at this point.
And he's moving into a new ecosystem.
Right. And it just happens to be like our ecosystem. So we're going to follow it closely. We're going to see Urban Meyer and the Jacksonville Jags twice a year when they play the Titans.
Like there is an element to, I mean, that's the biggest thing around Urban, right? That people say he can't lose. It makes him physically ill to lose. Like every time he leaves a program, it's to focus on his health when things start to teeter a little bit. So you wonder if there is that much hubris there that he legitimately thinks he's going to come in and help the Jags win an AFC South title and get to the postseason. Like, I wonder what his realistic expectation is going in. I mean, coaches' mindsets are different from ours, but
oh yeah, these people are insane.
But how is he going to handle like an 8? I was going to say 8-8, an 8-9, 9-8 type of season.
What do you know the definition of hubris? It was an SAT word that you used. Do you know the definition?
It's pride, right?
Excessive pride or self-confidence. That sound anything like Urban Meyer to you?
Sounds about right.
Yeah. I think that and he's going to have to adjust to the hyper scrutiny, I think, more than anything. Because, like, the thing that, I don't know, Mike Vrabel doesn't talk about it a lot now, but, like, the thing that I know that Mike has had not the hardest time adjusting to, but just, like, the thing that kind of, like, still surprises him is how much he has to talk to media. Like, how much he is involved in media on a regular basis. Where Urban and college, I mean, covering college, I've never covered a college program. But I understand, and I know enough college reporters that the access is so much more restrictive, not just with how often or just really not at all you get the players, but even with the coaches. And even more specifically, it's just the head coach that you're talking to more often than not. I know that was a thing under Jeremy Pruitt.
Right.
The assistant coaches weren't permitted to speak to the media.
That's the thing. Coaches can determine a lot of that stuff. Jeremy Pruitt did not want his assistants in front of the media, and player availability was very, very limited. Josh Heupel, the media's talked to assistant coaches under Josh Heupel far more than they ever did in the Jeremy Pruitt era, and it's only been 3 months, 2 months.
I wonder if he cares about the headlines, though, because like what DiRocco just said there is that he'll say something and then he'll go back and clarify, and you'll understand what his logic was behind saying that. You can't have, I mean, you can, but it's just going to create all kinds of headlines, especially if you're Urban Meyer, especially if you're doing things like the Tim Tebow freak show. Like, you are creating this problem yourself. Does he care? It's not like he has not faced intense scrutiny before at Florida, at Ohio State. I mean, hell, even at Utah when he was coaching the first overall pick in the NFL draft. Like, Urban Meyer has been a part of our lives and has been a part of, he's been in television, both for ESPN and for Fox at various points. So he understands how things get picked up. I just don't know if he cares or not. And if he doesn't, does his team care? Does his staff care? Because I know that the Tim Tebow, because I know a few people in Jacksonville. I know people that were pissed about that.
If he cared about the headlines, he wouldn't do half the things he's done throughout his career. Looking back at the Zach Smith just atrocity at Ohio State and hiring the racist strength coach out of Iowa, allegedly.
I love that we just caught.
Yeah, I keep forgetting his name.
Chris Doyle.
Chris Doyle.
We've done the racist.
If Urban Meyer cared about the headlines, he wouldn't have hired the guy who got fired for allegedly being racist towards his players at Iowa.
We've done the racist strength coach bit enough that I remember Chris Doyle's name because I've sent you scurrying looking for his name enough times. 615-737-1045. Hubris, defined as excessive pride or self-confidence. It's a good word by Lucas. And very, very accurate description of Urban Meyer. Now, this this quarterback conversation, Lucas, because I've let the show get off the rails. I suffer from attention deficit disorder. It's the only way that I can talk to myself, and really not just myself. I want to make sure that I don't like to say myself because Lucas is here too, and that makes me feel bad. But I have allowed my ADD to derail the show yet again. So I think this quarterback conversation, this quarterback divisional conversation, may be best saved for another day because I think there's a lot there. And I'm watching Good Morning Football right now in the studio, and they're talking about under-discussed quarterbacks. And the first guy that they threw up there, Ryan Tannehill. So I think there are some interesting layers to get into because I don't think the AFC South has the most interesting – we'll tease it for tomorrow, basically. I don't think the AFC South has the most interesting quarterback storylines. We're talking about storylines. We're talking about headlines. We're talking about things that you are going to be following over the course of the NFL season because they got plenty. Trevor Lawrence, Ryan Tannehill, Deshaun Watson for a great many reasons. And then
like that alone is arguably the most fascinating quarterback storyline in the NFL. Deshaun Watson or Tyrod Taylor or Davis Mills.
Well, it's fascinating for reasons outside of football.
Right. Which
is a different conversation. But it is a part of the conversation because it's the most interesting. So we'll spend some time on that on a later date because I want to get into this in greater detail, and I haven't left myself enough time to do that because I got caught up in talking about whatever the hell it was I was talking about before DiRocco came on here.
I don't even remember.
It's nor do I, Lucas.
Oh, it was the little girl calling
TikTok.
Mike Vrabel a beautiful man.
Yeah.
It was adorable. Should we play it again?
I said it to Darryl last night because the two men that I think Darryl would leave me for are Coach Mack, understandable, and Mike Vrabel, understandable.
Sure. What are you going to do?
So I said, I don't know if she would be comfortable with it, but she'll never. The last time I said that she'll never find out about what we're talking about on the radio, you all immediately sold me out and started tweeting her. So I have to her Twitter account got hacked, by the way.
Yeah, she tagged me. I sent it to you. Like a free pair of Ray-Bans. So she tagged 8 people, and I was one of the lucky ones.
I got people. She's tagging people that that work for the Titans organization. I'm out on the practice field on Saturday.
Hey, your girlfriend told me about this killer deal on Ray-Bans.
I walk into the gate to get out on the practice field at St. Thomas Sports Park, and one of the staffers comes up to me and says, "Hey, I think your girlfriend's Twitter got hacked." I go, "What do you mean?" And then he shows me the tweet. There's 6 pair of Ray-Bans if you tag a friend or whatever the hell coming from Dara's account. So I didn't know. And then I look at my phone and there's 6 more texts. One of them is from you. It just says all caps, Dara, no.
She tweeted me last night saying we should take you. I don't think she was hacked for tweeting me this, saying we should take you to the bungee exercising that Joe Dubin did.
Oh my God.
The other day.
Can we get Dubin on the show? Can we
Great idea.
I don't know what the hell we talked to Joe Dubin about, but that video alone, that was the best thing I saw on the internet yesterday. It's spectacular. I didn't even know bungee cord workouts were a thing. And all of a sudden I look at Dubin. He looks like Joe Dubin from News Channel 4, or not News Channel 4, WSMV, Channel 4, Big Joe on the go. You got Joe in what looks like he's in a wetsuit, basically.
Well, he's wearing his Trevecca baseball hoodie.
Oh.
Trevecca just won their conference championship, so he's repping the local school, wearing his basketball shorts.
Yeah, but also in a contraption that looks like an adult diaper and dancing to, I think, the baby. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I mean, his hoodie and shorts getup is just like a normal workday outfit for him.
No, I've been to enough Titan practice with Joe Dubin where it's the same hoodie. It's always the same hoodie. Anyway, again, I don't know what the hell we just talked about, but I know we're going to talk about what's happening in South Carolina. I mean, it just makes sense. What's happening in South Carolina? Because apparently they're bringing back the firing squad. I'm Buck Rising. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Want more fun from J-Mart and Ramon? Yes, that also means the pettiness. Hang out with Jason and Ramon whenever you want. Subscribe to J-Mart and Ramon wherever you get your podcasts.
Why does it seem like every ad you hear on the radio claims to be a family-owned and operated business? This is Dan Watkins with All Four Seasons Garage Doors. Let me tell you what family-owned and operated means to me. It means going to work every day, striving to make my business better. It's about my family, really working with me to make sure we handle every customer the way
but it's a trade thing, right? Like you want to know what's going on in the industry. You want to know what your peers are doing. And they send us, because we're going to get into what ended up in my inbox this morning and the South Carolina firing squads, because that was disorienting to me. So I was looking at I just lost my train of thought. What the hell was I talking about? What just happened?
The caller 5 thing.
Oh, the caller 5 thing. Yeah, Barrett Sports Media. Thank you. That's a tough.
At what point am I concerned about this?
I don't know what's happening. I think I'm just talking so much that I'm not taking inventory of anything that I'm saying, which is a problem for you. Stay close to that dump button. But so Barrett Sports Media is an outlet that covers sports radio, and they did a draft of lazy like sports radio things. And my least favorite thing in the world, like Mount Rushmore, was on there. Like the LeBron James versus Michael Jordan trope that always finds its way into markets that do sports talk radio that care about the NBA. We are not one of them, unfortunately for me. So they did a draft on lazy sports radio, and I gotta feel like caller 5 is the laziest of, and it's not your fault, okay? Like I'm not blaming you because I know you got a lot going on back there, and now that the people can see you because you're on camera on 104.5 The Zone TV. They are aware of just how much you do to make sure that, one, I keep my train of thought, which is impossible, and two, just to make sure that I can get off the ground as like on the radio show. But we got to find a better way to do the caller 5 thing. And if you want to submit ideas for us, because we're trying to make this easy on Lucas, okay? And I want to give you guys the tickets, but I also want to get content out of it. I also don't want I don't want to just give them to you. I want to make you work for it a little bit. So if you can think of a creative way for us to do ticket giveaways, it has to be via the phone. We can't do it on social media because then there's all kinds of legal things that I've got to wade through if you end up in my DMs and I don't know it's just a problem. So we're not going to do that. But we got to think of a creative way to utilize the phone callers to make these people work a little harder for the tickets. Because listen, if you're listening to me for 3 hours a day, that's enough work. And I appreciate you doing it. But I gotta make you work a little harder for that. So we'll figure that out at 12:15. But in the meantime, it'll probably be caller 5.
Like throwing out maybe like a question for people to call in with the correct answer, but like it can't be something that they could just Google real quick and come back with.
Yeah, like I don't know. I don't want to do sports radio trivia on the air.
No.
You know what I'm saying? Like that feels like something out of the 1980s.
Or like what is Buck's full name on his birth certificate?
Oh, they'll never get that. They'll never get that. I'm Egyptian. I have like 9 middle names.
I don't have any.
What?
Yeah, I don't have any middle names.
What do you mean?
It's just Lucas Panzica.
Is that a thing?
My sister, neither me nor my sister have middle names.
Your parents?
Yeah, no, they don't either.
What?
Yeah, I don't know. It's not. I don't know. There's no reasoning for it. I just think they just felt like there's no point.
Do you feel like you've been robbed?
No, I've always felt, and maybe I'm biased, but I've always felt middle names are pointless. Like, what's the point of a middle name?
Well, if you don't like your first name, like
it's just a backup.
Like my buddy from A to Z Sports, Austin Stanley. His first name is Michael. You don't like Michael.
My roommate, his middle name is Blue, but he goes by Blue.
Well, that's a different matter entirely. You could do a best caller in a segment, says Mikey Dreamer. Yeah, Mikey, but I'm like, and that's on Twitch. I don't, because then Lucas has to like write down a phone number and call you back. You know what I'm saying? And he's also screening the calls.
Yeah, it's got to be I pick it up and that's the person.
Buckethead says, can we just give Lucas the middle name of Poles? Lucas Poles Panzica?
I don't think I like that.
Whose Poles? Not my Poles. Not your Poles. Anyway, before I get too distracted again, because I want to get to this.
Let's talk about capital punishment.
Why not? So, you guys, in the same vein as me getting these annoying Barrett Sports Media emails every morning, now that I'm in corporate radio, okay? I don't know anything about corporate life at all. You got many of you who are listening to this, you work for a corporation, you understand the rigors of working in corporate America. This is all new to me. This is about 3 months old for me, and I'm still getting used to it. And I don't know, once I join a corporate entity like Cumulus, if like my email is just put on one of these lists to be sent things on a regular basis. but I often get these emails from people trying to present me interview opportunities.
And
okay?
sometimes they're good. Like we had Trey Wingo on the show.
Yeah, Trey Wingo was one of those. A PR woman who handles Trey Wingo and Pro Football Network reached out to me and said, "Hey, Trey's making the rounds. Would you like to have Trey?" And sure, Trey Wingo is a recognizable name in sports. Fine. But also, some of them are just completely off the walls. Like, for example, this morning. And I won't name names because I don't want somebody to like go search this guy out, and especially since we're talking about a subject matter that would be whatever. I'm just not going to give his name out. But he's a PR guy that has sent me an email. "Hi, Buck." And they always start very pleasantly. "Hi, Buck." Here's the kicker. South Carolina, it's the first sentence after "Hi, Buck." "South Carolina may become the 4th state to allow executions by firing squad."
What an open.
What?
That's called a hook. That's grabbing your attention.
You know what? You got me. Continue, please. But should I'm just going to read you the whole email. "But should adding the firing squad back as a form of capital punishment be something a first world country should do in 2021? I have David Dozier available to speak on this and capital punishment as a whole. David is the author of The California Killing Field and has spoken on an international level about the death penalty, the views on its barbaric nature, and its cost to taxpayers. David can discuss this from many angles and to many audiences. Please let me know if you'd like to speak with him, and I'd be happy to set it up with you." What? I mean, even because we are a weird show. Like, we are a bizarre show. Mostly because I'm a weirdo and I'm all over the place and I want to talk about anything that catches my attention because I'm a millennial, and if I see something bright and shiny, squirrel. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm all over the place. But even for me, the line, "Hi, Buck, South Carolina may become the 4th state to allow executions by firing squad." First and foremost, the hell is going on in South Carolina? Like, what? How is this a thing?
Well, so I mean, I looked it up. I did my research like a good producer, and they are running out of the chemical for lethal injection. So they've quietly signed a bill where inmates on death row can choose between the electric chair and firing squad.
So we're between Green Mile and a hostage situation. Huh.
Yeah, it seems archaic.
Just a tad. And listen, I'm from the Middle East, okay? Like, I understand stuff. Well, I'm not from the Middle East. My family is from the Middle East. I'm half Egyptian. So, like, the whole firing squad thing, very, very top of mind in the last, decade or so, okay? But for that to pop up in my email this morning when we're planning out, who's got the most interesting quarterback situation in the NFL.
Turned into content, didn't it?
Well, I mean, I guess. Dear God.
We put it to a poll. Firing squads, fair or foul?
What is the... We will update the polls later, in which we will debut Rhett Bryan's latest creation at the hands of the Titans.
53% say fair so far.
Oh, it's that close?
It's very close.
Dear God. That's a problem that I'm not even going to get into. But we've got Bam on the phone lines. He wants to talk actual sports, so we'll do that on the other side. Lyndsay Rowley is going to be here as well from Bally Sports, and we'll get back into all things Nashville Predators. And we'll see if Lucas hasn't brought some hard-hitting journalistic questions to see if we can expose some of the problems with the Nashville Predators. With Lyndsay Rowley, I'm Buck Rising. This is 104.5 Zone.
Off-season. Yeah, like that exists. We have no idea what you're talking about. The Titan Station. Brilliant. 104.5 The Zone.
This is Damon Amend.
coldest intro on 104.5. Man. That intro is so cold.
Listen, I'm super picky about the music. Lucas knows this. I even edited that together myself and then sent it to Lucas and said, this is the thing that I want. So thank you for that. That means a lot.
I tell you what, man. You know what? I think you guys should take this into consideration. You guys should do a celebrity playlist as well, too.
We do know some
Funny
people.
you say that, Bam.
We do know some. No, who? You are the celebrity, Lucas. Relax.
No, I'm saying we've been discussing this on the show, and we put it out to a poll question.
Well, we put it out to a poll question if we should tweet the playlist, but yeah, we will take that under advisement. Go ahead, Bam.
If it happens, please let me be the first. Let me do the first pick. I promise you, I will not let you down musically.
No,
That's
I
my
believe
thing.
that.
I'm a producer. I'm a drummer. That's what I do here. So, yeah.
Okay. I can. Well, with a name like Bam, you got to be.
Absolutely. But this is what I'm calling for. I want your opinion.
Yeah.
This morning they were talking about the top 25 running backs from 2021, and Derek was like number 5, I believe, 5 or 6, something like that. I don't feel like, with 2K yards back to back, the blatant disrespect that the NFL puts on that boy's name is just uncanny. How do you feel about that, or where do you position him at?
Well, I appreciate the call, Bam. 615-737-1045 if you want to chime in. So I didn't see the article that they were talking about, but I heard it got a good deal of run.
It was Matt Williamson of Pro Football Network.
Yeah, I just looked it up, and I'm looking through the list now because it's funny. Derek he's the cover photo. So one would assume that Derek would be the top name.
Because it's the most quote-unquote controversial ranking.
Yeah, I mean, sure. The top 25 running backs heading into the 2021 NFL season. So let me take a run through this real quick. Because so they go bottom to top, which makes all the sense in the world, and they're going to make me click to a next page so they can get an extra click out of me. So go ahead and no, I have it now too. So here's the top 5. We'll go ahead and spoil this for you. And it's, God. Christian McCaffrey, number 1. Saquon Barkley, number 2. Alvin Kamara, 3. Dalvin Cook, 4. Derrick Henry, number 5. Now, let me read the blurb before I rip this man for this stupidity. You like that? All Henry has done is lead the NFL in rushing for 2 straight years. On a yards-per-game basis, Henry topped the league by over 15 yards more than the second-place finisher. Henry is a force of nature with the ball in his hands, so why is Henry down at number 5 in these rankings? The reality is that there is a case to put him first because he is so unique, but Henry just doesn't contribute enough as a pass catcher. Still, this guy has scored 49 touchdowns. It went away. 49 touchdowns over his last 45 games. That's remarkable. What are we talking about?
I feel like he could run for 3,000 yards and be the NFL rushing champion 5 years running. Yeah, but he doesn't really contribute as a pass catcher.
I don't know if I want to get into this now or if I want to save this because,
we've got a whole summer for stuff like this.
I'm upset. I hate lists are so stupid. They do this kind of. I almost said a bad word. They do this kind of stuff on purpose. And again, we basically did the whole first hour on how I'm not a Titans fan. I'm a reporter. I'm objective. Okay, but when you make the argument against yourself. In the blur.
That's what he did, yeah.
But you're right. You literally just made the argument against yourself. What are we talking about?
That's what lists are for.
What do you mean? What are lists for?
To prompt reactions like this.
Yeah, and clearly I'm bothered.
It's working.
So Lyndsay Rowley's going to come up next. Then we'll talk about Preds. I have to. I mean, we're here now. We're when you put in the write-up in your 2 paragraphs that you got to satisfy, and just so you can get an extra click out of me, Pro Football Network, you put the 20 through 25 on the first page, and then make me click for the top 20. Good job out of you. You got the extra click out of me. I hope that affects your bottom line. Then you do this in a way where you literally write yourself. The reality is that there is a case to put him first because he is so unique. So why don't you put him first? Especially when you cite the statistic that he doesn't catch enough passes, but he's scored one shy of 50 touchdowns in the last 45 games. What is this obsession? And listen to me. I understand because I was one of these people. Okay? I was a Derrick Henry. I won't call myself a detractor because I was not anti-Derrick Henry.
I mean, what was your take that the Titans should build the offense around Deion Lewis?
No, that was stupid. Shut up. That's not fair. That's not a fair characterization by you. That Liam Neeson, was that my opinion of Derrick Henry at the time when Derrick Henry was doing Derrick Henry type things?
No.
Thank you. Finally, some sense. When I said that, I'm pissed at you. When I said that, it was a long time ago. It was 4 years ago, and Derrick Henry was losing snaps to David Fluellen. Okay? I'm wagging my finger at you like you've done something wrong, like I'm scolding you. This was a totally different time. This was before they put Derrick Henry on the trade block, okay? People forget. I don't, especially because I have to defend this damn opinion 3 years later. And I did say that, but so did Greg Cosell. So I had an ally who was reputable. But since then, okay, because even as recently as last summer, when Derrick Henry was pursuing a contract extension, I said that running backs are rarely, and they are, rarely worth the second contract because their bodies expire at a quicker pace, especially with the role that Derrick Henry is asked to play. I am one of these people who, in the summer of 2020, argued against a Derrick Henry extension. And what did he do? He turned around and led the league in rushing again, got to 2,000 yards, one of only 8 players to ever do it in the history of the sport. It shouldn't take him. I mean, here's what I'll say. He's one of 8. So it's not like the odds weren't in my favor when I made that argument. And he had just started to come on in the second half of the 2019 season, and then he did the unthinkable. He literally carried them to an AFC title game. Now, they lost because Mahomes, basically the way that Mahomes plays, took the game out of Derrick Henry's hands. You were chasing at that point, and you can't chase when you've got a player like Derrick Henry. It is the flaw in the Titans offense. But I hate that they just dropped that. I appreciate Bam for bringing this to my attention because I didn't have this in the rundown today, and I wish we would have saved it for tomorrow because I could go for hours. I could do an entire show on just the subject matter alone because I've seen both sides. But you cannot tell me that he just doesn't contribute enough as a pass catcher and then tell me that he had 50 touchdowns basically in his last 45 games. The scoring is what matters. How many times he catches the ball out of the backfield? Sure as hell doesn't. That is my piece.
It's okay to say that's what you want out of your running back while still acknowledging Derrick Henry is like a once-in-a-lifetime kind of player and then is the best running back in the league because he has been the best running back in the league just based on numbers for the last 2 years. It's okay to have both. It's okay to say both.
He has this person for Pro Football Network has Christian McCaffrey ranked number 1. Christian McCaffrey got a contract after Derrick Henry did, a bigger contract. How much, Lucas, and I'm putting you on the spot here, but look up for me, if you will, on Pro Football Reference, how many games Christian McCaffrey played last year. Because the answer, I'm pretty sure it was less than half of the season because he got hurt. Because he's not a 250-pound, 6'4" cyborg at running back.
How many games do you think he played last season?
I will say 6. Less than 6 games.
Played 3 games.
3 games for the Carolina Panthers last year at the cool figure of what? Do you have the contract information in front of you? You don't? That's okay. I'm a professional, so I'll buy you some time. But I'm pretty sure it's $16.5 million average annual value. And I believe that Spotrac will confirm that for us.
It was a 4-year, $64 million contract.
What does that average out to?
Over 16 per year.
Over 16 per year. Number 1 running back, according to Pro Football Network, the guy who played 3 games. Not the guy who is basically the only reason that running backs are keeping their value alive. It's not McCaffrey. It's not Zeke. Maybe it'll end up being Kamara. Who knows? But Derrick Henry is the only one keeping the running back value afloat because he's undervalued. He's underpaid. And I'm the one arguing that he should have. Well, not arguing. Not anymore. I suffer from this problem with covering Derrick Henry. And in fact, we'll talk about that tomorrow because this brings up an entirely different conversation. And if we're going to have lists jammed down our throat, then we're going to at least get some run out of it. But in the meantime, we'll talk about the Preds. We'll break down what happened last night with Lyndsay Rowley of Bally Sports. That's what's up next. I'm Buck Rising. It's 104.5 The Zone.
Come on. You know you want to listen to Blaine and Mickey. Come on. Blaine and Mickey this afternoon.
Guests are the Cold War Kids. The tickets go on sale this Friday, but we are going to give them to you right now. 615-737-1045. Be caller number 5, and we will give you a pair of tickets to see the Kings of Leon come August. 615-737-1045. Poor Lucas immediately. Phone lines flooded. That's the punishment for whatever production error. I'm sure it wasn't his fault. It's okay. So Lyndsay Rowley is going to join us here in just a second, and we'll talk about these Nashville Predators and the mistakes that were made last night. Now, the biggest mistake that everybody seems to be hyper-focused on is Eeli Tolvanen. Eeli Tolvanen, who was not part of the lineup, and we talked to Alex Doherty yesterday about the idea that who would Victor Arvidsson, who had not played a game prior to last night, had not played a game since April 27th. So who was going to lose their spot basically to Arvidsson was the conversation we had yesterday with Alex. And he explained why Eeli Tolvanen was the person who made the most sense. And so Eeli Tolvanen did not play last night. And the Preds power play suffered. Now, we don't know for certain that Eeli Tolvanen would have made a difference, but that game was competitive through the first two periods. It was 2-2 heading into the third. But Eeli Tolvanen and his ability, basically just a sniper on special teams. Probably, Lucas, I would make the argument the most important Preds player when it comes to the power play. Yes or no?
6 of his 11 goals this season were on the power play. He was by far the biggest spark for a power play unit that struggled all season long.
Yes. So, by the way, did we give away the tickets? Who won them?
Kyler Fleet.
Kyler
Lebanon.
Fleet.
Congrats, Kyler.
Congratulations to Kyler Fleet. We hope you enjoy the Kings of Leon. Listen, guys, if you're calling in now to win the tickets, we're giving away tickets all week long. So don't fret if you didn't get a shot at them today. You're going to have 3 more chances this week to go and see Kings of Leon, courtesy of 104.5 The Zone. So we hope Kyler enjoys the show and whoever won the tickets yesterday as well. In the meantime, so this is obviously the thing that's going to come up in John Hines' postgame Zoom press conference last night. So Hines was asked about the fact that Eeli Tolvanen was not in the lineup and that the Preds' power play was probably the most efficient thing about them outside of, just getting schooled by Carolina. This was John Hines last night.
So, guys, look, we came in as 2-2 going in the third period, and you have to make lineup decisions. Back to Jared's question, we were physical. It was hard. It was a hard-fought game. It's 2-2 going in the third period, and, you look at a couple of goals, they're breakdowns in the goals. One of them's the turnover. They come back in. It's a D-zone coverage goal. So I think when you look at those situations, it's we can talk all about the lineup we want, but we played physical, we played hard. It was a competitive game, and we didn't find a way to win one. So as we've said, we're going to be able to make lineup decisions that we want. But, as we've gone all year long, it hasn't been who's in or who's out. It's how we've played. And today we didn't play well enough to win. I think when you look at the lineup as it's gone through, we played hard, but we have to stay out of the penalty box. Interference, trip, high stick, holding, and 2 unsportsmanlike conducts at the end. So it didn't have anything to do with that.
That's John Hines last night, head coach of the Nashville Predators, explaining, well, not really explaining, just kind of saying why Tolvanen wasn't in the lineup and citing the idea that it didn't make a difference through the first 2 periods. It just ended up spiraling a bit in the third. But I cannot imagine that the Nashville Predators would not have been better off with him in the lineup. I just can't. And again, this is the thing that we get into with doing the analysis in retrospect, right? Basically, what sports media is, or at least people in my position, we are professional second guessers. So I understand why people would look at this and say, yeah, of course it's the most obvious thing right now, given that Eeli Tolvanen is what Eeli Tolvanen is to this team and all of the things that he has been able to provide to the Preds on special teams. But the strategy of it just doesn't make sense to me when you're the Preds and you have an uber talented just sniper on the offensive side to help kickstart your unit on special teams. Ellie Tolvanen was certainly sorely missed last night. John Hines saying there that he didn't think it made a difference through the first two periods. The lineup is what the lineup was, and that things just kind of devolved after they spent so much time in the penalty box. So we'll welcome Lyndsay Rowley of Bally Sports in on that note. Lyndsay, how you doing this morning?
Hey, guys, I'm good. I was just talking to Lucas saying I'd be a lot better if we would have picked up the W last night, but other than that, I'm doing great.
Yeah, no question. So, Lyndsay, I guess we did see the Preds keep it hugely competitive for the first two periods, and then things just kind of fell apart in the third. What from your perspective was most to blame there?
You know, it's tough because I listened to Coach Hines' press conference too, and you know, I agree with him. You know, he said that he felt his team played a really competitive game, and that obviously was clear through the scoreboard. But even in the third, it was competitive, and you know, I feel like just in the third, it was just a little bit more of a better effort, I guess you could say, from Carolina. Let's be honest, you got to give credit where credit's due. Carolina is a killer team. I mean, they've got so much speed, so much talent up front. And, you know, the goaltending was really solid last night as well. In my opinion, you know, Carolina played a great game. That's what the Preds didn't. But overall, you know, they played really a solid 60-minute effort. Now, what I'll be interested to see is can they have that kind of sustained effort now every game throughout the series? Like, is it going to be like that tomorrow? Is it going to be like that when they come back to Nashville? Because to me, that was just overall just a solid 60-minute effort. And that consistency, I feel like, especially in the playoffs, isn't necessarily always attainable.
I couldn't believe just how big a difference it looked like on the ice last night with Carolina and the Preds, Lyndsay. It was a bit jarring to me to see after those first two periods just the way that Carolina just was attacking the entire time. It looked like and listen, this is a playoff series. They will go back and forth like this. There was a bit of puck luck involved with Carolina's equalizer after Forsberg scored, but it ultimately didn't matter because that was the thing that kind of kick-started the engine for him. And then, I mean, just to be playing in front of 12,000 fans again, I think the atmosphere was something that probably had some kind of effect once those things start to snowball, because it's been so long since either of these teams have played in front of even a partially full house like that.
No, I completely agree. I think that the atmosphere is definitely a factor, and that's going to be a factor throughout every playoff series now throughout the league, just because, you know, they're finally letting good chunks of fans into these stadiums. And so it's going to affect the teams both home and away, being able to play in front of so many fans. Now, don't get me wrong. I've been in that atmosphere, and they do a great job in Raleigh, but they ain't seen nothing yet until we come back to Bridgestone Arena, because they just don't have the support as far as around the arena. I mean, they had a great crowd, and it was awesome, and that arena was rocking. But you come back to Bridgestone Arena, not only are you rocking inside the building, everything around the building is rocking if you don't have a ticket. So it's going to be – I'm really excited for this series to shift back to Nashville.
Look at Lyndsay Rowley out here throwing smoke at Carolina. At Lyndsay Rowley is where you can –
I've lots of love for Carolina, but I just mean it's tough to compete with the atmosphere that Bridgestone has being on Broadway. It's going to be crazy.
No, without question. At Lyndsay Rowley is where you can follow her. Of course, you can watch her on Bally Sports. Lyndsay with an A, by the way, on the socials. Go ahead, Lucas.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of throwing smoke from the Carolina fans yesterday, Lyndsay, I had no idea how much Carolina fans hated Eric Howla.
No kidding.
The vitriol that was raining down. Just from the booing when he was doing his intermission interview with Kara Hammer. Is that something that you guys knew going in? Like, did that catch you off guard a little bit?
I think that, I mean, we all kind of knew just because he came from Carolina, so, the former King. But I also thought it was really funny because when Kara was doing her interview before they, got started and everything in the interview, Eric was actually, blowing kisses up in the stand and saying, "Thank you, I love you guys, thank you." It was actually really funny. But so I love that he still got that. You know, he's still lighthearted about it, even though, I mean, it happens in the league. It happens in every professional sport. You know, there's always everybody wants a bad guy to hate. And quite frankly, we don't really have that many bad guys on the Predators team that are a Tom Wilson or somebody who's easy to hate. And so for Carolina, I guess it's going to be Eric Howla.
Tom Wilson, probably the most extreme example of that, without question. But there is a bit of heat today on social media, Lyndsay, for Matt Duchene. Now, when we talked to you last, It was after the Pecorine 60th shutout 5-0 against these Carolina Hurricanes, understanding that there was much, much less on the line. Duchene had a good performance, 2 goals. And then last night, an assist, I believe, but really, really not much else. This is something that fans are going to be hypercritical of because they know what he's making and they know what he's counting against their salary cap for. Help me understand the Matt Duchene experience because at this point, something's just not clicking.
Well, I think it's interesting, and I know there is a lot of heat on Matt Duchene, but also I guess my counter to that would be, is there anybody really that you looked at the Preds last night and was like, daggone, they had a great game? Because I can't think of anybody. I can't think of anybody who it was like, don't get me wrong, we had guys step up. I thought Phil looked good. I thought the top liner, Rod, Joey had that great pass to Phil for the goal. But there was no one, in my opinion, that played out of their mind, holy cow, stood out, including Matt Duchene. So I get that there's heat on him. I know how much he makes. That's nothing new. But to me, it's not just Matt Duchene that has to step up in the series. It's got to be a team effort. There's more than just Matt Duchene that needs to step up. In my opinion, it wasn't really Roman Yossi and Ryan Ellis' best game. I think they played solid, but do I think that they've got another level that they can reach, especially against the Carolina Hurricanes? Absolutely. So to me, there's maybe a little bit more heat on those guys. But, as far as the lineup goes and Duchene being in and out and all that, I thought it was interesting. Hines in his post-game press conference said, there might be some changes in the lineup. And who knows? Maybe that'll be one of them. Maybe Ellie Tolvanen comes in and maybe, Matt Duchene goes out. I don't know. We haven't talked to Coach or heard anything yet, but of course there's rumors swarming everywhere. But I think that it's more than just Matt Duchene that's in the hot seat right now. I think the whole team's in the hot seat right now, especially our big guns.
We talked a lot, Lindsay, about sort of the physicality of the Preds being the X factor in this series to kind of offset maybe some of the deficiencies between them and the Hurricanes. But Carolina brought that last night. I mean, they out-hit the Preds 56-49. They really matched the Preds' intensity on that end, and you could argue outmatched them. So going into Wednesday, I mean, just aside from potential lineup changes that we don't know yet, do you expect that still to be the same approach? Do you think that'll be notched up a little bit? Do you think the Preds maybe were kind of taken aback at how Carolina showed up on that front?
Maybe a little bit. I think that as far as the physicality battle goes, the last 2 games of the season, I would argue that the Predators won that battle as far as the physicality goes. And so I think that Carolina coming in, and I mean, there was a lot of, social media and just the media in general making comments about the physicality that the Preds brought in those last 2 games. So I got to imagine that Carolina was going into game 1 really jacked up from a point of we want to go out there and not only, be effective and dominate offensively, but we want to be physical. So I think that they were really ready for that. And I don't want to say that the Preds necessarily got outmatched physically. I know that what the stats were, but from a physical standpoint of just watching, I thought it was fairly evenly matched, to be honest. And I think it's going to be the same thing. If anything, maybe more physical. I'm surprised we didn't see any actual gloves hit the ice kind of thing. And I would not be surprised if we see some of that tomorrow and as this series continues, because these 2 teams have gotten to know each other very well. It's very clear they don't like each other. You saw how chippy it was last night, how much that the rest were trying to keep everything under control, especially some of the calls that unfortunately like there at the end of the game. So I think that we're going to see the same, if not more, of a physical game from that standpoint. I think the name of the game also is going to be Preds just got to stay smart too. Play that physical game, and I don't think any of their penalties really cost them anything as far as, being stupid physically. It was tripping, it was interference, things like that. So to quote Coach Hines, he said, when somebody asked him last night in the press conference, he said, do you feel your team crossed the line physically for how many penalties you took? And he was like, absolutely not. We didn't take any penalties that were really costing us anything from a physical standpoint. He said, in fact, I think we took soft penalties. We have to be smarter, and if we're going to take those physical penalties, that's one thing. But, the tripping, the interference, not having control of your stick, I think that's something that Coach Hines is going to be talking to his team about.
Yeah, I'm here for the violence, Lindsay. I need more chippiness.
You need both, man.
It's blood sport at this point. It's the playoffs. You got to have it. At Lyndsay Rowley is where you follow her. Lyndsay Rowley of Bally Sports here with us on 104.5 The Zone. All right, one thing outside of goaltending, because we know that's the key for Game 2 on Wednesday. What do the Preds have to do to be able to even this series?
I think it's a little cliche, but, controlling the neutral zone. I mean, I just think that Carolina is so good in transition, and if you can't stop them, and also on the vice versa, of being able to get set up offensively, being able to break through the neutral zone cleanly, but both from an offensive and defensive standpoint, I think that there's just got to be a little bit more control. It's just, and you mentioned it at the beginning of our conversation. It just seemed like Carolina was everywhere, especially to start that game. There was zero time and space out there on the ice. That's not taking anything away from the Preds because they pressured the game, I thought, very well. So I think that's going to be a key for both teams. But for the National Predators, that's something I'd like to see a little bit more. Some cleaner breakouts, but also maybe controlling the neutral zone as much as stopping that transition game for Carolina because they are so fast and skilled breaking out.
Lyndsay Rowley always brings the heat when she stops by the show. We appreciate the time, Lyndsay. We'll certainly be watching on Bally Sports come Wednesday, and we'll see if the Preds can bring it as strongly as you just did.
Oh man, I hope so. Trust me, I'm cheering / screaming from an empty Bridgestone Arena. So.
No question. Lyndsay Rowley, kind enough to give us some of her time. That is the I thought the analysis was good there because we understand the position that Lyndsay's in. She's obviously pro Preds, and that's fine. But I do think that it was important for her to point out because for as much scrutiny is on Duchene and Johansson because of their salaries, to bring up Ryan Ellis and Roman Josi and their lack of performance as well, to a degree, I thought was good perspective. So I am curious. I'm curious about this Preds team. And I'm more curious about the idea that she said, I don't think she was hinting at anything. I think she just kind of said that potentially you could see a lineup change, and whether that's Duchene for Tolvanen, that would be fascinating. What do you think Preds fans would do? I think they'd probably celebrate, I'd imagine.
If Tolvanen steps in?
And Duchene, more importantly, Duchene steps out.
Duchene's on that third line. Maybe it has reached a point where he has to be out of the lineup. I mean, at this point, Eeli Tolvanen's a more dangerous player offensively than Matt Duchene, but you would expect Tolvanen to come into that first line, and that would maybe have to mean dropping Victor Arvidsson. There's going to have to be some tinkering. They also broke up the Herd line. Tanner Jeannot stepped up to the third line with Matt Duchene, bringing some physicality there last night. So I expect to see a different lineup Wednesday. John Hines kind of went both ways when he said, no, it wasn't really the lineups. It was 2-2. It was a hard-fought game at the end of the second. But he also said, we expect some changes. We're going to take a look at it going into Wednesday. So I don't expect to see the same lineup, and maybe he has pressure from above. I mean, we know David Poile is very involved with these things. And so I do not expect to see the same lineups on Wednesday. But, look, they're not going to outskill and outskate the Hurricanes. They're just not. They have to do what got them there. They got to do that very well. And Carolina just outmatched them in that aspect last night.
So I just saw a tweet, speaking of David Poile, at Gin and Use, as in UC Soros, is the Twitter handle. This is a quote from David Poile. Quote, I don't know exactly what the coaches are thinking today, but they've got a pretty good weapon there that just didn't play last night in Eeli Tolvanen. End quote. That's from the general manager of the team, the guy who put the roster together. You're probably thinking the same thing we all are. And I understand that they're on different lines, but I don't think that's good news for Matt Duchene. That's just me.
I mean, look, hindsight is 20/20. Like, Alex Doherty came on this show and said he liked the decision. He predicted Tolvanen would not be in the lineup before they even came out. And he said he liked the decision because of Tolvanen's kind of drop-off in 5-on-5 play and how he's been most effective on the power play. You've seen a lot of officials swallowing whistles in the playoffs. He didn't expect a lot of penalties to be called. Well, 8 total penalties were called, 3 of them on the Preds, and they totaled 2 shots in all 3 power plays. So hindsight's 20/20. You look back and say, okay, they could have used a spark on special teams. But at the same time, Eeli Tolvanen in the lineup does not mean the Preds are up 1-0 in this 7-game series after last night.
It's enough hockey talk. Lucas Panzica updates the polls coming up next.
104.5 The Zone TV. Watch us now. Facebook Live, YouTube, Twitch, and Periscope.
of 104.5 The Zone's second student broadcasters seminar. It's next Tuesday, a week from today, on May the 25th. Learn. What are you laughing about? Your microphone's on.
Pretty cutthroat. If you're ready to step into the ring.
I mean, for real. Listen, you got to be serious.
No, it's not. Yeah, it's not.
No, I don't.
Not messing around.
Do you know what? I mean, I know what your schedule has been like the past couple of months, and I know what hell that I had to slog through to basically get to sit in this chair in front of a microphone and have a show with my name on it. Like, you and I are very well aware. I'm sure everybody who's worked or tried to work in this industry understands it's pretty brutal. Like, if you last 5 years, you're probably going to be okay, but those 5 years are going to suck largely.
You got to embrace the suck.
I mean, I'm going to be honest with people when they come on the student broadcast, because I'm looking to give, like, real-life advice.
Yeah,
I'm not just
don't do it.
I'm not just going to pat you on the butt and say, yeah, go get him, Tiger. No, it's hard. So if you want some real life of this, I don't know if I just totally bombed the promotion of this thing. But if you want some real life advice and you're a college student broadcaster seminar next Tuesday, May the 25th, I'm going to be there. Don Davenport, J. Martin Ramon, Mike Keith, Bob Kessling. You can sign up for this free seminar. Very important that it's free. Listen, if you're going to work in sports media, you're going to take advantage of everything free that you can get, whether it's clothes, food, or otherwise. So take advantage of this free seminar. Visit 1045thezone.com to sign up today. Let's do some polls.
I don't know who you are,
Ooh.
but I know what it's time for. A poll update on the Buck Rising Show. Here's a young man with a very particular set of skills.
Oh, Liam.
With the final numbers. Here's Buck Rising Show correspondent and producer, Lucas Panzica.
Brett Bryan is such a stud. Go ahead.
He's a wizard. An artist. Oh, what's the worst deal? Matt Duchene or Jadeveon Clowney? 56% of over 500 votes say Jadeveon Clowney.
I want to get back into that tomorrow because we really didn't sink our teeth into that today.
I'm sorry, it is Matt Duchene. It just is.
No, sure.
It's a 7-year deal.
But I want to look at it a little deeper.
Compared to a 1 year, didn't work, scrap it, a 7-year deal.
What about I want to do it tomorrow? Did you not understand?
Okay.
Why are you doing the show tomorrow?
Bucket says yes. John says
Accurate.
Duchene, the length hurts more than anything on the cap. Clowney was 1 year. We were disappointed with the production, but it was 1 year and doesn't drag the team down as long. Duchene may lead us to trading another asset so we can send him to Seattle, to the Kraken, which is like the coolest name in sports.
The expansion draft. I know. Listen, I'm wearing team gear today. Not team gear. Like I'm wearing Indiana gear because I went there and I, for whatever reason, care about my godforsaken basketball program. And I have a Nashville SC pullover. Those are the only two pieces of team apparel that I own because I'm, big J journalist, but I'd wear Seattle Kraken gear. That stuff's sick.
South Carolina bringing back execution by firing squad. Fair or foul? Okay. 55% say fair. 45% say foul.
Wait, the majority?
The majority say fair. What animals are voting on these polls? Stoney says your audience is out here telling on themselves.
Oh, my God.
Joe says, what WTF is wrong with your audience?
For real. Guys, what are we doing?
Oh, my goodness.
No, firing squads are not a good thing. Fair or foul. 55% of you?
I don't like that.
I mean, listen, I understand in Tennessee we're pretty, liberal's not the right word, but we're pretty, we're fans of our guns. I understand that. But you're going to go back to, when we're firing squads.
Like World War II?
Regularly a thing. Yeah. That's like when you're not taking prisoners. Good God. 55% of you. I was not expecting that.
No. Me neither. That was like almost a joking poll, but.
No, it was.
My goodness. Moving on.
Dear God.
What's the most?
I'm a little uncomfortable.
Yeah,
I'll be honest with you.
I am perturbed. What's the most interesting quarterbacking division in the NFL and why? J. Martin Ramon say Aaron Rodgers and Jordan Love. They are very divided. #petty.
Naturally.
Kenneth says the NFC South with Brady defying age at 44. Darnold is away from Adam Gase. Taysom Hill. What is it? And Matt Ryan minus future Titan Julio Jones.
We put together a whole show today, and then we didn't do 70% of the show.
This itself could be an entire hour.
That's what I'm saying, which is why we're going to do it tomorrow.
Yeah, we're
it's
going to
list
bookmark
season, baby,
this
and we're
thing.
stacking days.
Ben says the NFC West because, duh, Wilson, one of the best. Stafford gets to strut his stuff in L.A. They could be elite now. Kyler is amazing, probably the best dual threat in the league. And then Garoppolo versus Lance.
Did you say Garoppolo?
Yeah.
Jimmy Graps?
Garoppolo. Yeah, whatever.
You're Italian. What do you mean? This is like you insisting on calling Vols baseball coach Tony Vitello. No, it's Vitello.
Tyler says the AFC South because Texans, who the hell knows? Jags, will Lawrence succeed? Colts, can Wentz turn it around? And Titans, does Ryan Tannehill continue at his elite level of play?
Nobody wants to talk about Ryan Tannehill.
Yeah, it's good discussion for a later day.
No, tomorrow.
Will the Preds, yes, a later day. Will the Preds put Ellie Tolvanen back in the lineup Wednesday? 86% say yes.
They have to, right?
Yeah, I fully expect it. Again, Ellie Tolvanen would not have won the Preds that game last night, but you need that spark.
No. I don't think he totally changes the outcome, but I think he at least makes them more competitive than 5-2.
Watch, Ellie Tolvanen is going to come back in the lineup. Officials are going to swallow their whistles, and there's going to be like one penalty called on Wednesday.
Yeah, that's exactly what's going to happen.
What's the more sensitive fan base, Preds Twitter or Titans Twitter? 58% of nearly 500 votes say Titans Twitter.
There's more Titans fans to be upset. Right. It's a larger fan base.
But I do think the Preds fan base is a little more sensitive.
They are a minority, but they are a loud minority. They are a particularly whiny minority. Now, not all of Preds Twitter. I don't want to put everybody in a box because I would not appreciate that. But I will say that when you mess with them a little bit, they whine. And I just don't have time for whiners. I mean, I do have time for whiners because you can get these Twitter hands anytime you want.
Should I copy J. Martin Ramon and tweet out the daily playlist on the Buck Rising Show? 56% say yes, but the comments are not in support. Cuzzo Mike says, nah, be original. Farsender says, yes, that would be nice. Scott says, to become the best, you must learn from the best. But J. Martin Ramon do give me their blessing.
Well, we don't need it. Thank you, but we don't need it. I'm Buck Rising. It's 104.5.
Interact with us live. 104.5 The Zone TV. Now on Facebook.